So students, in this video we are going to discuss pass by reference. While discussing pass by value, I explain the meaning of a value type of variable. So in this video, let's discuss the meaning of the meaning of a reference variable. Okay. So let's look at this line here. Okay, I've created a variable p1 and its data type is pass by ref. Okay, this pass by ref type of data has been created by me here. So when I create a class, we are actually creating a user defined data type. Okay, so just as we can create a variable of int type or any other non-primitive type, similarly we can use our newly created data type like pass by ref So this p1 variable, its data type is pass by ref. Now let's focus on this part of the statement, new pass by ref. So all of you must be knowing that this statement is creating an object. Okay, so the new operator creates an object. Okay, it creates an object and returns So the new operator, it does two things. First, it will allocate the memory for the object of type pass by reference in this case. Okay, and the second step is that it will return the address of that newly created object, and that address will be stored by p1. Okay, so this p1, it stores the address of an object. So we can say that a reference variable stores the address of the actual data. It is the opposite of a value type of variable, because a value type of variable stores the value itself. So this can be imagined something like this. When we say that when we create, the new operator creates an object, we can imagine it like this, that it creates a block of memory, and within this block there will be many sub blocks. Okay, sufficient enough for storing all the instance variables. Okay, in this case we just have one instance variable. So this object is going to contain only one instance variable, that is num1. Sorry, not num1, it's num, and it will be initialized by the default value of num, that is 0. All the instance variables are initialized with their default values when an object is created. So this square box is representing the object which was created by this statement here, and p1 is p1 is another variable which is storing the address of this object. So if we suppose that the address of this object is 001, so this p1 variable is going to store the value 001. So this 001 is the address of this object. Okay, so this is how we can represent it with the help of diagram. Similarly, if I create another object P2, okay, so I have to write another statement, pass by ref P2 is equal to new pass by ref. So when that statement is executed, another object is created, hence we will represent it by this square box, and this square box will contain its own copy of all the instance variables initialized with the default values. And let's say suppose that the address of this block of object, this object is 002. So now this variable P2, this variable P2 is going to store the address of this object, that is 002. Okay, so now let's come to our main function. Now you have understood the meaning of object creation. So let's come to line number 16 in the main function. So p1.num, p1.num. So whenever we access an instance variable num in this case, so you can see this num is an instance variable. An instance variable is always written outside of any function but inside the class. So this, whenever you want to access an instance variable, it must be done with the help of an object. It cannot be accessed without an object, as you know that the instance variables comes into existence only when the object is created. For example, this num came into existence only when the object was created. Same thing goes for this num. This num was created when P2 was created. So if you want to access the instance variable, you have to use the object and dot operator, the object name and the dot operator. So in this case the object, okay, for the sake of convenience we can say that P1 is the object and P2 is the object, although we know that they are the reference of the objects, but for the sake of convenience we will call them objects. So let's talk about line number 16. We are printing the value of num stored by the object P1, that is the meaning of P1.num. So the P1.num, as we can see, that is it is storing 0. So this is going to print 0 here. On the next line we are assigning the value 2 to the variable num belonging to the object P1. That means this 0 belonging to num of P1 will be replaced by 2. So on the next line, on line number 18, we are printing P1.num. So P1.num is going to print 2. So far on the screen, on the output window, we will have 0 and 2 as the output. Now let's talk about line number 19. We are calling the display function and we are passing P1. Okay. So we must always remember that when we call a function, we must check the data type of the formal parameters. So the data type of the formal parameters is passed by ref. So that means this PBR can receive only pass by ref type of data. So if we check here this P1 is also belonging to the same data type, that is passed by ref. So there is a perfect match, there is compatibility. So this P1, as you know, is storing the address of this particular object. So when this P2 is created, this P2 when it's created, it will also have the same address, that is 001. That means both P1 and P2 are referring to the same object. So the control has transferred to the display function, and in the display function the first line is printing the value of pbr.num. Sorry, this shouldn't be p2, it should be pbr. So this is our pbr variable. Okay. So when we say pbr.num, we know that pbr is also referring to the same object, this one. Okay. So pbr.num will print 2. So on the screen we will have another 2. Then on the next line, that is line number 9 of the display function, we are accessing pbr.num. So pbr.num is 2 into 2 is 4. That 4 will be stored in the same num, and that means this 2 will be replaced by 4. So once that is done, control will come to the next line, it will print pbr.num, and this is going to print 4. So we will have a 4. So we have 4 as the output, as the next line. Okay. So now we don't have any more statements in the display function. Control will come back to the main function on line number 19, and then it will move on to the next line, line number 20, and this is going to print p1.num. So p1.num is also going to print 4. So the output, the overall output is 02244. So here you can notice that p1.num, here it printed 2, but here it is printing 4. Okay. So how come the value of p1's num got changed? It was changed by this formal parameter, isn't it? When we change the value of pbr.num here, at that instant only we have changed the same object that was being referred to by p1. Therefore, we can say that the formal parameter here, that is pbr is changing p1. That means the formal parameter is changing the actual parameter also. When you make any change to the formal parameters, that is being reflected in the actual parameters as well. So this is known as call by reference, and in the case of call by reference, in the formal parameters you will always have non-primitive type. So let's check the output and see if it is matching our expected output. So as you can see, students, the first output was the first output was 0, we also got 0 here, then 2 was printed, we also got 2 here, and then another 2 was printed, another 2 was printed. Okay, then we have got 4 and 4. So here we have 4 and 4, that means the output is matching. So that's it about call by reference. So we'll stop here. Thank you.